Hello, this is Susan Ploss. This is an example that one of my students sent. It's a trinomial that we're trying to factor. I didn't write the instructions down, I forgot that. There we go. And the lead coefficient on this trinomial is not 1. You can see that the lead coefficient here is 3, which makes this problem a couple of steps longer than the trinomial where the lead coefficient is equal to 1. All right, so when the lead coefficient is not 1, we take the lead coefficient and we take the C value, which is this constant here on the end when you have it in standard form, and we multiply those two things together, and you see I've done that over on the right. I've come up with a negative 30 at the top of my chart, and I've written down all the combinations of numbers that will produce a product of negative 30. Well, I haven't put the signs in yet, but I have noted that because it's a negative 30, the two signs must be different. And I'm looking at this pair of numbers here, 2 and 15, and I'm interested in those because I can see that back here for the middle coefficient on the first degree term, I'm looking for a negative 13. So I know that 2 subtracted from 15 would give me 13. I just need to figure out now where to put the negative sign. And since I want a negative 13, I'm going to put the negative on the 15 and the positive on the 2. And you can still see from those, if you multiply them together, you get negative 30. If you add them together, you get negative 13. And that's just exactly the combination I'm looking for. All right, so what to do next? This is the place where you have to be real careful because the lead coefficient is not 1. This is a more complicated problem. So you copy first and last terms, and then you go in here to the center and remove the negative 13x and replace it with the two numbers that you found in your chart. And then you notice you have to also include the variable, the same as what you see back here on this middle term. So now I have 4 terms. It's still a negative 13x here in the center. I've just written it in a different way. So now you're going to see me run through the grouping process because I see 4 terms. Remember how I always put the plus in the middle between the parentheses to keep the parentheses separated. And notice that I'm keeping the negative on the 15x inside the parentheses with the 15x. So first pair of terms here, I see a common x, which I'm going to pull out. Second pair, because these are both negative, I'm going to pull out a negative 5, which leaves a positive 3x and a positive 2 here. Notice how where I had a negative and a negative inside the parentheses, when I pulled out the negative common factor, both of these reversed sign inside the parentheses. Okay, so I'm almost there. I'm noticing here this 3x plus 2 in the parentheses is the same parentheses. So I'm going to pull that out in front as my common factor from the 2 terms. And then the pieces that remain here are these pieces that sit out here in front. So that looks like my factored form of that trinomial that had a lead coefficient that was not 1. Let me run over here quickly and remind you of how the check works. You can take these 2 factors, you can multiply them back together again, and you should end up back where you started with the original trinomial. So here's first times first, here's outside, inside, last times last, and you can see in here these 2 like terms will combine to give me the negative 13x in the center, and you can see that I've ended up with a trinomial that matches the trinomial that I started with, so I know it's correct. I hope this helps.